Good afternoon, Facebook and the rest of social media. How y'all doing out there in social media world today? This is Walter Lundy with Regional IT Services, Professional Technology Assistance, Computer Repair, as well as a variety of IT services. We specialize in operating systems, web designs, virus removal, security cameras, networks, computers, printers, peripherals, smartphones, tablets, logos, social media, routers, switches, servers, and business loans. Trust Regional IT Services for your IT support, business continuity, data backup, disaster recovery, and computer repair needs. We work with just about any technology that a home user, executive, small, medium, and large business would encounter. Leave the technology to us so you can focus on what you do best, running your business. How are you all doing today? I'm going to talk about some of the politics since we just had an election here and everybody's mind is in the political space right now. So I just wanted to talk about how some of those politics apply to IT. When you're in the IT world, it's not all about just fixing equipment as we would like to think it is. So if you're like me, and I read this quote somewhere, they say that we come into this world knowing who we are. That is through life and through some of our experiences in life, good or bad, that we forget, who we are, what we came in this world, who we wanted to be when we arrived into this world. Well, for me, superheroes, those always been my influences. Watching the superheroes growing up, Lou Ferrigno's Incredible Hulk, Adam West's Batman, seeing the Batcave, those things always inspired me to be the man that I am now. For example, Lou Ferrigno's Hulk, he was big and strong, had muscles. So to this day, I still work out to this day and lift weights because of seeing Lou Ferrigno. Because of seeing Lou Ferrigno, I was wanting to check my little messenger real quick. But because of seeing Lou Ferrigno being big and strong, seeing Adam West having the Batcave with all of the different computers in it, those were things that inspired me to be in tech. So my version of my Batcave is my command center, which you see here in my office, or what I like to call the command center. That's what I call it. Let me give y'all a little quick tour for those of you who haven't seen my command center or my makeshift Batcave. Support, log in. As you can see, I got a server back there, a couple of different PCs, all for different purposes. If you joined me before, if you follow me anywhere, I've already explained that stuff in my network and how it's set up, so forth and so on. But because I've always wanted to be in tech and I've always been into IT, when I was going to school and when I was getting into the workforce, I imagined that it would be the way I see tech on television or the way that I read about it in sci-fi movies and sci-fi films. You would always see the engineers and the techs, the scientists, they would always, work hand in hand to achieve whatever it was, repairing that machine, building that machine, setting up that equipment, troubleshooting, making that equipment more efficient, faster, stronger. And that is what I thought the workplace would be like, that I would be working with other IT professionals, other geeks and nerds, and we would all be in there talking geek, nerd stuff, all of those type of things. Well, when I first got into the IT business, it was during the .com bubble. So it was in the early 90s. back in those days, a lot of the IT professionals were your nerd types, your geeks with the different color hair. I mean, the heavy metal guys, just all across the spectrum. We had a lot of the long hair hippie types. So when I got in the first company, one of the first earlier companies I worked for was a tier 1 ISP. And so we had all of these different weirdo types that worked there. But I quickly realized that all of the managers and all of the big money guys, all of the executives, they were not the weirdo type. They were all the guys in the suits and the ties. So I paid attention real quick to start being more of the suit and tie guy, to be on the executive side versus just being a worker, as I realized that's where the real decision making lied within IT, was more on the executive side and not just from the tech side. But working in IT, you're going to encounter a lot of different personality types, just as we do in the political spectrum. Some people are nice, some people are jerks. Some people, let me rephrase that. In IT, a lot of times it's not so much about the PC as much as it is about supporting the person. So that's what it comes down to. But you're going to have, through your journey in IT, you're going to have certain type of coworkers that can cause problems for you within that company that you work for. So this is where understanding the politics of IT come into play. And this is just dealing with your coworkers. This is not even when you get to the customer side, which I'll talk about at another or later date. But right now I'm just going to talk about navigating your different coworkers and what you have to deal with when it comes to coworkers. I want to show y'all something real quick before I get into that. Can y'all see my cat over there? He's always hid behind my computer equipment ever since he was a baby. I've tried to break him out of that habit, and when I would fuss at him, he would just go deeper behind the equipment where I can't reach him. I'm always worried he's going to unplug, pull something out, but he does. He actually has destroyed some of my equipment. Actually, just knocked it down, pulled it loose. But he loves to hang out behind my equipment. But anyways, I'm going to get into some of the different personality types that you're going to deal with that can cause you problems as far as coworkers go. One of my favorite types I like to discuss is, and probably the most common, I'm sure you've dealt with them, and this is your ROACH. And the reason I call this employee a ROACH is because they relentlessly overanalyze coworkers' habits. If you're familiar with them, I mean, they watch to see what time you take break, when you get to work, when you leave, when you clock in, when you clock out. They pay a lot of attention to every move that you make. And these type of coworkers, they can be real dangerous for you because they can shape perception, and they're real good at shaping perception, especially when it comes to your manager and management. They will definitely report back every little thing that they can find. You give them any dirt on you, they're gonna run with it. So one of the ways to combat these particular type of employees that I've learned over the years of dealing with them, and they come in all shapes, sizes, colors, male, female, old, young, it doesn't matter. They all do it for different reasons, but it's pretty much the same behavior that you see across the board. Most of the time that reason is to make themselves look better at your expense. Sometimes they have an even more sinister vendetta, which is to get you fired and cost you your job. You know, most of them, haven't grown up in the hood, because where I'm from, you don't mess with someone's livelihood and money, because that can turn into a physical altercation very easily. But in the corporate environment, of course, you can't react to situations physically. even to the point of losing your temper sometimes can get you mislabeled, especially if you are an unapologetic black man. You can easily get labeled as an angry black man showing hostility and anger or yelling at someone at work. And I don't want to make this a race thing or anything, but I've seen white coworkers of mine slang, yell, raise hell at work, and all was said was, that's just the kind of man he is. Versus if I did something like that, it would be, I'm being intimidating. But because I know this, I'm not complaining about it. Because I know this, I understand that I have to be a little more tactful with the way I handle certain situations, especially the ROACH employee. So I used to have this one coworker at the last company I worked for, and he was actually a pretty good tech far as tech went, and I enjoyed working with him far as the tech side of things and working with them on the actual technology, fixing systems, figuring out software, updating equipment, that type of stuff. I really enjoyed that part of working with him. But he was constantly reporting my every move back to my manager. And I've had this at other companies that I've worked for as well. So I've become adept to dealing with this over the years. And one of the games I would play, I would observe him when I'm returning from lunch. I would observe him waiting to see what time it was I got back from lunch, or early in the morning, see what time I got into the office. We shared an office. And so one of the things I would do is I would watch him go out on the floor looking for me, and then I would sneak into the office without him seeing me. And this would, so we'd come back in the office, I would pretend like I didn't know he was looking for me, and that I didn't notice that he didn't see me, that I didn't see him looking for me. So I would just duck off in the office. Then when he would ask me, hey, what time you got here? I would play dumb and change the conversation. But that was one of the games I would play with them. But this is how you address those type of employees, because they will shape perception on how your manager sees you, as well as your coworkers, and as well as some of your other coworkers and some of the other managers within the company. So what they like to do, they like to sneak and do everything behind your back. Another reason I call them roaches. They don't really like confrontation. So in the IT space, you're going to have regular meetings, team meetings, to get status updates on where you're at with projects, tickets, things like that. So the way that you address that coworker is during that meeting, during that time. That is how you address it. What you do is shine a spotlight on them, and we know roaches hate light. When you turn the light on, they scatter. So what you do is shine a spotlight on their behavior. So when you have your chance to speak in the meeting or whatever, or your manager's asking you about a ticket, or what you say is, well, I make sure you say it jokingly but seriously. So you say, well, I make sure I better let you know where I'm at on this ticket, because Roach employee is going to come back and report to you where I'm at on this and tell you every mistake I made. He watches my every move and report it back to you. And this is how you do that. So this puts the spotlight on them, and this is actually make the manager aware of that behavior. So when the manager sees him do that, then the manager is aware of what's going on. Now, sometimes the manager actually has a person that they implant into this position. The manager will quiz this person at the end of the day. I've worked at projects where at the end of the day, one of my coworkers, he would give the rundown on what everybody did or didn't do at the end of the day, to the manager. So when you understand that that's the situation, then it might be time to look for other places to work, or move around within that company, try to find a different department to work in, or et cetera. Because if you're working in that environment, that's pretty much letting you know that you're going to be in a toxic environment, and you're not gonna enjoy working there too long, anyways, and that under that type of pressure. So, but the other way to handle this is to have a direct conversation with your manager. Explain to your manager that you are an adult. He's your manager. You report to him. You're running into issues dealing with your overbearing coworker, that he watches your every move. He or she watches your every move. We actually just had an issue just not too long ago. A coworker actually killed his fellow employee. He actually shot and killed her because he was tired of her being late to work or taking excessive breaks or things of that nature. Not working hard enough, according to him. That's a perfect example of a ROACH employee. That's an extreme example, but that is the type of behavior where they monitor, pay attention, and they're overly obsessed with you and what you do as an employee. So that's one of your, and you're going to encounter these. I promise you, you will not work for a company where you do not encounter one of these employees. The best way is to identify them right off the bat and start formulating your plan on how to handle them. The next employee that's going to give you problems is when you're in IT, especially in a corporate environment, each department is going to have its own culture. Normally starting at the top with the manager, and it's going to go on down. So if the manager's a jerk, or the manager's hard-nosed, or a tyrant manager, normally that is going to permeate throughout the culture of that department. So the way that you will understand that you're dealing with a employee of a tyrant manager is that they will invoke their manager's name to you almost in a threatening manner, or copy their manager on every ticket or every correspondence with you. They do this in an effort to have you prioritize their ticket or jump, at their request. So when you see this, you have to address this as well. Otherwise, this will turn into a problem as well, because they'll complain to their manager. Their manager is going to go back and complain to your manager. And after a while, perception becomes reality, and then they'll start shaping the perception of what type of employee you are or aren't. So the way that you combat this, you have to be confrontational with this. You go to your manager as soon as you notice this, and you shine light on this particular department and this manager. 9 times out of 10, if your manager's been there, or he has any seasoning about himself, or he's worked there for a while, he knows who the problem managers are, and so he understands which department put in more tickets, issues more complaints than the rest of the departments, and so forth and so on. And normally there's a pattern that's been established by that department. So what I always do is I'll reply. Usually I'll take it up with my manager, because sometimes you can cause a big snowball effect by replying directly to the employee and their manager on that issue. So you have to navigate that water as well. So what I normally do is I'll copy everybody, usually my manager, their manager, and the person who's submitting the ticket, and bring it to their attention that I'm going to be the tech that's going to be working on this issue. There's no need to include your manager in this request, because at the end of the day, I will be the one addressing the ticket, and by doing this, I am equating this to almost workplace bullying that you believe by you including your manager or copying your manager on this issue. Now, in some cases, the manager do want to stay updated on the issue, so you have to understand the difference between the two, whether it's an individual issue or a departmental issue, or an individual issue that's affecting the department. So those are things you have to pay attention to when you're dealing with that too. So make sure you be tactful about that. One of the ways to handle those problem departments, especially if it's a tyrant manager that has any kind of power or leverage within the company, the best thing to do is assign a tech directly to their department. And you can rotate that position amongst the teams. This way, that manager feels like he or she exercised their power. You have more one-on-one direct access. They have more one-on-one direct access to a technician. So you have the techs learn the way that they like their issues addressed, and there's a more personable relationship. So that's the way that you handle that issue when it comes to that situation. And the last one I'm going to touch on is the wannabe IT expert. Now, every company has someone that's a little bit more, every company or every department has someone that's a little bit more IT savvy than the rest of the team. So a lot of times they are by default the IT support for that department. So a lot of times these people will mistake their IT support and assume that they have more overall knowledge as it pertains to you when it comes to support. Now, if this person has direct access to the owner of the company, the decision makers, this can affect the way that you're seen and the perceptions that people have as far as your work goes. So I'll give you a quick example of where I ran into this. Okay, I had a VP, I want to say it was a VP, one of the higher up executives that had downloaded this tool off the internet to do some network troubleshooting with this tool, to take it upon themselves to do some network troubleshooting with this tool. Now, this tool sends out different ping commands, and what a ping command is, I believe it stands for packet internet groper. Haven't looked the definition up in a while, but basically you send a packet from your computer or whatever device you use to connect to the internet with, normally to an IP address or a device name, which ultimately is the device on the end of the IP address, and it sends a signal back, a reply or no response. That lets you know whether the device is online or if there's some network issues affecting that device, connecting to the network. So there's different options you can run with the ping command that returns different results, such as how many hops that it had to go through to get from your device to his device, how long it took, the device name, different things like that. And you just change that by putting different options. So you do ping space minus T, ping space minus A, and then you can also combine those options as well to give you a lot more input. So that's the basically what a ping does. So I'm talking to this executive who was doing the troubleshooting, and he had via this software, and so he was coming at me. He was like, well, I'm running extended pings and I'm getting this information back and so forth and so on. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he kind of scoffed at me and like, you're supposed to be IT support and you don't know what an extended ping is? I'm like, I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about. So I remoted into his PC, looked at the software that he was using, and basically it was a software that just ran a bunch of different ping commands, and you could select different options. And it had some of the options named extended ping. One of the options it named extended ping. So in his mind, he believes that he knows more overall IT because he's using a piece of software that runs these commands for him, although he doesn't really understand completely the data that he's interpreting. So in this situation, you have to understand this person has direct access to the ear of the owner of the company, and they can shape perception.
There are options for coffee. I can help you find what you are looking for. If you want instant coffee, say buy instant coffee. Or for ground
I guess y'all
coffee,
can hear my
say
Alexa.
ground coffee.
Must have heard the keyword, but I got them all over the house. So anyways, the way you have to understand that he has direct access to one of the higher decision makers in the company. So in order to have him talking good about me versus bad, I don't want him telling the owner of the company that I don't know what I'm doing IT wise, even though it's his lack of understanding. What you do, you speak to them as equals. So because they're going to play around with the network, and there's going to be things about the network that they know that you don't, or particular systems that they work on more often than you do, and they'll know different little tips and tricks and trades about that system that you don't. So there's always going to, but their overall knowledge and overall understanding of IT won't even be close to what someone that actually does this for a living, actually someone like me that does this for a passion and not just for a living. So their understanding is not even close. But what you do is you talk to them as equals. You speak to them as if you're on the same level. So you say techs like us, IT people like us, people of us that understand this stuff. Or you're not lame like the rest of these people, or you kind of stroke their ego. But what else you do is you give them additional access that you don't give to other people. So what I did in this case, I said, okay, I explained to him how to interpret that data that he was reading from the software. I showed him actually how to do ping commands from the command prompt. And then what I did, I gave him access to be able to view network statuses on the router via the GUI interface. So I explained to him how to interpret the information he was seeing, some of the troubleshooting that he could do on his end to resolve those issues, and things that he would recognize in which it would be time to call me in on. And so by empowering that user, the user feels like you're on equal footing, and he's got that additional access. So now that end user likes you, and they look at you in a different light. And now, instead of them talking bad about you, they're speaking good to you about the manager, the owner of the company, so forth and so on. But these are some of the ways politics play in IT. So politics is not just limited to our election. Politics is into our everyday lives and our work lives. Now, I got into IT thinking that it would help me avoid dealing with all the politics of people, but it's the exact opposite. I can do the PCs in my sleep, because pretty much across the board for a few different versions, things like that here and there, PCs are all the same to do what they're supposed to do. The software, when it doesn't do it, when I type in a command wrong, it dings, tell me I'm stupid, that I didn't type in the right command, returns an error, let me know that I didn't do what I'm supposed to. People are different. Everybody has their own agenda. Everybody has their own thinking. Everybody has their own belief. So you have to understand that working in IT is actually more about dealing with people than it actually is about IT. So politics can't be avoided when it comes to the workplace. But one of the things I like to do, and the way I like to think about that, is that it's God's way of keeping me humble, reminding me that we all have different abilities and talents, that we all depend on each other to get through this world, that we all depend on the talent and abilities of other people. It reminds me that we're here to serve others, and that is our whole point, is serving others. So my talent and ability to do IT allows me to serve others in their line of business. So that is what I take from that. Anyways, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all recommend our services. If you're not following us on social media, make sure you follow us. We're on all platforms. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can stay updated on our videos. Make sure you get over to our website, www.regionalitservices.com. Most of all, and most importantly, use our services. Get over to our website, register your domain, Protect your brand. The first 2 steps in business is name that idea. Second is protect it online. We do small business loans anywhere from $5,000 as much as $5 million. If you want to take your business to the next level, get over to our website, fill out our simple 15-second application. No minimum FICO score required. The only requirements is that you've been in business 3 months and have at least $5,000 a month in sales, not profit, in sales. So make sure you get over to our website. Take a look at all of our products and services. Let us design your company a beautiful professional website. Your company is not able to be found, so it barely exists these days if it can't be found on the internet. If you don't have a website that links back to all your social media pages, then you're not being found. So let us help you show up on the first page of Google and Bing. Leave the technology to us so you can focus on what you do best, running your business. Again, get over to our website, www.regionalitservice.